Let's talk about the core of the universe. The parent-child relationship is the core of the universe. Then, of what does the relationship between parent and child consist? It's the relationship of three things: love, life, and lineage. We cannot have true life without the love of true parents. In other words, God created human beings as the partners of His absolute true love. This relationship forms an axis of love, linking God the Father with human beings as His sons and daughters. Could anything be of higher or greater value than being a son or daughter of God? If anything were higher, surely human beings would aspire to attain it. But there is nothing higher. Do you think that when the all-knowing and all-powerful God created Adam and Eve, He secretly reserved the highest position for Himself and made Adam and Eve to be only second best? We cannot imagine that God could do that to His children, to His partners, who share absolute love with Him. God, our eternal true parent, invested Himself. God, our eternal true parent, invested Himself 100% in the creation of human beings and endowed us with the right to have status equal to His, to participate as equal in His work, to live with Him and to inherit from Him. God bestowed upon human beings all of His attributes. Though God is the absolute being, He cannot be happy alone. Adjectives such as good and happy cannot apply to any being that lives in isolation. They apply only where there is a dynamic mutual relationship. Imagine a professional singer who finds herself on an uninhabited island. She may sing at the top of her voice, but will it bring her happiness if there is no one to listen? In the same way, even God absolutely needs a partner with whom to share love in order to be happy. Then how shall we, who are created to return joy to Him, live as good as God's partners? In other words, how shall we live in order to be the children whom God can call His sons and daughters, who can stand in a position equal to His, share His work, and inherit all that is His? We should substantiate the ideal that God envisioned at the beginning of His act of creation. God acted upon the principle of living for the sake of others. In other words, He acted for the sake of those whom He created as His longed for partners in true love. The practice of true love formed the core of His love initial creative act. Therefore, to become God's children, our first responsibility is to emulate Him. He needs to embody true love by living as a devoted child, then a patriot, a saint, and finally a divine son or daughter of God. At that stage, we need to experience the innermost emotions of God's heart and resolve the grief that He has experienced for tens of thousands of years since the fall of Adam and Eve. God is almighty. It was not due to any shortcoming or lack of ability on His part that He has been imprisoned in great pain and has endured immense suffering behind the scenes of history. Rather, there are provisions in the principle of restoration which He has not been free to disclose that called Him to wait with forbearance until Adam and Eve's positions, lost at their fall, were recovered through the appearance of the perfected second Adam. Although God is all-powerful, he cannot ignore the internal laws and principles that he himself established. Do you know what has pained God's heart the most? What has pained God's heart the most, causing him the greatest grief since the fall of Adam and Eve? It was the loss of his lineage. With that, he lost his rights of ownership. God lost this lineage, which is more valuable than life itself. Without this lineage, the seed of true life and true love was unable to germinate. The importance of lineage. Lineage is more important than life and more important than love. Life and love come together to create lineage. We cannot establish lineage if either life or love is missing. Among love, life, and lineage, which are the three qualities that define the parent-child relationship. Lineage is the fruit. God's lineage contains the seed of true love and the body of true life. Hence, for us to become the ideal people God envisioned, people of ideal character, and to create ideal families, we first need to link to his lineage. Only when we are linked to God's lineage is it possible to create God's homeland, the ideal nation, and establish the kingdom of the peaceful ideal world. That world will be created through ideal relationships and by upholding the standard of absolute sex. Please inscribe the importance of lineage in your hearts. I cannot emphasize this enough. Without lineage, neither life nor love can endure. Your tradition will endure only through your lineage. Lineage is the bridge allowing the parent spirits to carry on through subsequent generations. In other words, lineage is the first and final condition necessary for parents to have to harvest the fruits of their love, their life, and their joy. We need to know this with certainty. Yet, this lineage, more precious than life, was lost. The fruits of true life and true love never matured. Everyone on earth became fruits of Satan, lacking any relationship with heaven. God intended for the seeds he planted in the springtime of the Garden of Eden to grow into a bountiful crop that he could harvest in autumn. The ideal of God's creation was to raise Adam and Eve and as his son and daughter to the point where they could blossom with true love, true life, and true lineage. God's desire in creating human beings was to harvest the honors of eternal love, eternal life, and eternal lineage, and his kingdom of the peaceful ideal world. The most valuable and highest of all relationships is the relationship between parent and child. This is the only relationship that can perpetuate the lineage of God. You have to understand clearly that there is no way other than passing of the blood lineage from parent to child. Tragically, it was false love, false life, and false lineage that infested the earth. God's love, life, and lineage fell into the hands of the adulterer, Satan, the enemy of love. Heaven and earth were transformed into hell. The world became a wretched place in which God's presence was completely obscured. Yet humanity to this day lives in ignorance of this. Thank you. Continue following. Talk more about life and lineage.